We're now moving on to the cardiovascular system, which is all to do with the heart and how the oxygen moves around the body. Now, it works in conjunction and really closely with the respiratory system. Now, when we're looking at the heart, it's broken up into 4 chambers, and I think about these as rooms. And they've also got valves, and I think of these as doors. Now, these valves stop backflow from occurring from the blood, so it allows the blood to flow around the heart really nicely. Now, the blood enters the body as deoxygenated blood and it leaves as oxygenated. Now, it goes through the different chambers and the valves, and it goes into the lungs where it has that gas exchange we spoke about previously. And what it does, when it leaves to go to the lungs, it actually leaves through the artery and it returns into the vein. And these are called our pulmonary veins and pulmonary arteries. Now, one of our major arteries are our aorta. It's a blood vessel that is the strongest one, and it gives it that push that blood needs to get around your body. Without this, our blood would find it really hard to move around. So that big pump gives that big push, our blood can move around our body, and then through the body the arteries contract, allowing that blood flow to occur. Now, there's a few functions for the blood. And we've got carbon dioxide, and oxygen. And we always remember them as old Charlie Foster hates wild women having double chins. And this stands for, old is for oxygen and C is for carbon dioxide, and that is the transportation of both of them. We've got F, which is for the food, so that it gets all the nutrients and vitamins we need from the food, and the blood takes that to transport again around our body. Then we've got hormones. This is to do with the transportation of hormones around our body also, men and women having different ones. We've then got water. So our water regulation within our body, and when we don't have a regulation of our body, we then get water retention. So this again is a really good function that we really need for our body. Then we've got heat. So we've got heat regulation, and as we established earlier, that's around 36 to 37 degrees. We've got D, which is for our defence. So these are all our white blood cells. These are the ones that fight against any infection and illness that we have. Then we have clotting. Now, clotting is really important because if we didn't have this, then we bleed out. And there's certain cells in the blood that allow our blood to thicken. So we've got different types of blood vessels. We've mentioned the arteries and veins. So just always remember that the arteries are thick, and they're thick to allow the blood to flow. So we're getting that big pump of the blood. Then we've also then got our veins, and these are thinner. And these have valves. And this to ensure backflow does not occur, because if you do get backflow, you'll get things like blood clots, and that's when you need your vein removed, which isn't very nice at all. When we're looking at the blood composition, we've got our red blood cells and we've got our white blood cells. And I always remember all the other cells as well as the word PELT. Plasma is one of the biggest parts of the making up the blood, and it's got water, it's got nutrients, and it's made up of proteins, and it's sort of a yellowish substance. Then we've got our platelets. Now, this is only a small part of the blood, but this is where we get our blood clotting from, so it helps thicken that blood up. We've then got our red blood cells, which is our erythrocytes. And then lastly, we have our white blood cells, which are our leukocytes. And as mentioned in one of our functions, that's to do with all our defense against illnesses.